Alrighty. Hey everyone, welcome to our weekly Amphibia discussion stream. We are here to discuss episode 5 of season 3, Fixing Frobo and Anne-sterminator. I am your host, as usual. I never introduce myself as a host. I don't know what I'm saying. She is here. Hey, welcome. Glad that you can make it. Happy Halloween, everyone. As you can see, I am dressed up as my lighting is really bad for some reason. You can't really see that I have this little mask that I made. I drew on it myself last night and made the spring mask, and I was like, oh, and I have a green hat too. I can wear the Spring Earth cosplay. So I am dressed up as Sprig. Tom is also here with me today. Hey Tom, want to say hi to the people?
Hello. I've never said hello like that. I don't know why I said it like that
Today's
this
just
time.
a day of firsts, I guess.
I don't quite feel like goading on Thatcher's ghost since it's Hallows Eve.
Yes.
And I might just summon her. And, you know, there are a lot of things I don't want to deal with, and she's pretty high up on the list.
Yep. That's fair. All right, I'm gonna also take off this mask for now because it's warm and it's muffling my mouth and my voice. So I'll put it back on if we get more people in the chat in a little bit. But yeah, we're here to talk about these season 5 episode 5, sorry, not season 5, oh my gosh, that's season 3 episode 5 of Amphibia, fixing Frobo and Anne-sterminator. These were 2 really banger episodes. These were like freaking awesome. Like I really enjoyed these episodes. I don't know if they were quite my favorite. I really enjoyed last week's episodes too, but these ones were also really solid and really awesome. Before we get into like the nitty gritty of it, do you have any general thoughts?
I'm trying to think of what constitutes a general thought and what's something that I kind of would rather get into later.
That's
I don't
fair.
know, they're fun. I get what you mean. I feel like there were some moments in the last week's episode, episodes plural.
Yeah.
Which hit particularly hard.
Yeah.
Although I suppose as a general thing, I am intrigued to know how the FBI are gonna factor into it.
Oh my god, we got left off on a really big cliffhanger, huh?
I'm curious if it's gonna be like a Lilo and Stitch situation where they end up sort of being like not really bad guys.
Yeah.
Kind of like maybe antagonistic until the end where they kind of become forces for good.
That would be fun. That would be really fun.
In the fight against Andreas. Speaking of which, I concur. Fuck Andreas. But also that little e-girl wink he did at the camera was fantastic.
Oh my god. Okay, we'll get to it when we get to it, but Andreas is honestly such a fun villain. He's so... You love to hate him. You love to hate Andreas. Or at least I love to hate him. I love to hate
I don't even hate Andreas. Andreas is just like a huge asshole, but he's a fun, huge asshole.
Exactly. I love being like, oh my god, this guy is so twisted and I hate him, and he's just fun to hate. He's fun to...
He's fun to watch.
He's fun to watch.
I don't know if I hate him. He's like... I've seen far worse in villains, you know? Like... You know, he's not a Nazi, which helps.
He's just insufferable. Like, you're just like, oh my god, this guy.
I don't know if he is insufferable though. He's fun. Like, insufferable makes it sound like he doesn't steal the scene.
No. I just mean like in the sense that, like, you know, he's like... Anyway, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Also, hi Rule, welcome. Getting caught up and you hopped around a bit. Ha, very good. I love that. Also, hi welcome, Rooster Tamer. Glad that you're here. Welcome. Thanks for joining us here today. Alrighty. Actually, you know, no, never mind. Let's just get into the episode. We have too much to discuss. I was gonna go off on a tangent, but we have too much to get into. Let's go ahead and start right at the beginning here. So Anne is opening up her laptop to the planters, and I was thinking like they were gonna Google what ohms were. That was like my first thought, because that's like where we left off on the last episode, right? I was like, oh, they have no idea what an ohm even is. Like, let's Google it, and maybe Sprig and Polly will be like, hey, I recognize that thing, but we've got more important things to get to. Which is, of course, cat videos. I also love, this whole sequence of the beginning with like the light coming out of the laptop. And it's like, it's so beautiful, the endless knowledge at our fingertips. And, Anne is, of course, like, endless cat videos, though. And they end up watching a bunch of these cat videos and getting super into it. I love that because that's what I do on the internet. I mean, not necessarily cat videos. We look at a lot of dog pictures. Tom and I.
We look at so many friggin' dog pictures. In the hours between you going to bed and waking up, I just make it my mission to send you as many pictures of puppos as I can.
Yes, it's actually really great.
Premium puppos, so that when you wake up, you have like a stream of little puppos. Some are regulars. We've got some regular puppos that we kind of keep up to date with.
Yes.
Celebrity puppos that we love. None of this has anything to do with anything, but puppos are great.
Puppos
are way
great.
better than cat videos.
Puppos are great, and that is like what the internet is for. At least for me, it's just looking at really cute pictures of dogs and crying about them. Hyrule says mainly sold on this season thanks to Dr. Jan. Need this character's energy injected into my veins. I love Dr. Jan. I can't wait to see her again. I really missed her in this episode.
I'm still skeptical on Dr. Jan.
I think that's fair. We've love her.
We've had the rug pulled out from under us too many times. if she is as she says she is, then she's great.
Yeah. So Polly comes in and is like, oh, I fixed Frobo, come watch me turn him on. And, they're a little worried, but they go and take a look. And we get met with, this hobbled together Frobo that has like a washing machine and like a bunch of like weird pipes and tubes and like a bunch of these like string lights just kind of taped onto him and like shoved inside the washing machine. And there's like a car jumper cable attached to him and a bunch of other stuff. And Polly's been pretty busy at work, it seems. So Polly, does her best. She puts together. There's like a battery taped to him too, but you can kind of tell.
That's definitely how batteries work.
Definitely. But you can kind of tell this is like not quite gonna go the way that you expect it to go. At least for Polly, right?
Just fill them with Christmas lights.
Yeah, just shove some Christmas lights in them, and that's how robots work, right?
Yeah, probably.
So Polly tries to turn on the robot and nothing happens. We also, of course, get our cute little if I missed this the first time I saw this because we got a screenshot of this scene early, right? But I totally missed that Grunkle Stan is like chilling up here in the corner. This show just has so many little Easter eggs. It's really fun.
Which, I mean, I don't want to wrap my head around what that implies about the earlier episode with Frog Grunkle Stan and Frog Zeus.
Yes.
And whether or not Anne recognizes them in any capacity. I just don't want to think about that.
Yeah, we can't think too hard about that. That's just gonna keep us up at night in ways that we don't want. I'm laughing at Rooster Tamer's comment here. Hey, Anne, look, it's a human version of that guy we killed. I forgot that they did end up murdering the frog Grunkle Stan guy.
They've killed a lot of people.
They've done a lot of violence.
Especially Hot Pop. He straight up murdered a guy on his little noir adventure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And was never taken to task about that. I mean, he's never going to be able to speak to Sal again.
I love this running gag that happens throughout the episode with Mr. Boonchoy. I felt so bad for Mr. Boonchoy throughout this entire episode. Like, he keeps getting his day ruined. I love also this little, upside down Amazon logo. I thought that was like a funny little thing.
He's just trying to be a pro gamer and they won't let him.
He's just trying to be a gamer. He's just trying to live his best gamer life.
I mean, that upside down logo does imply that the logo for this universe's version of Amazon is a frown.
I mean, that would be more on brand.
Yep. Yep. Let's not think too hard about that. And workers' rights.
Let's not think too hard about that because Twitch is owned by Amazon. Anyway, so the laser ends up shooting right through the garage door, which is it's so funny too because like we got a similar kind of gag to this in an earlier episode with like the guy with the TV with like, oh, this TV is like a son to me, and then it ends up like getting smashed, right? So I feel like we get a lot of these kind of gags with Mr. Boonchoy where it's like he says the thing and you know exactly what's gonna happen afterwards, or he's like, oh, my limited edition controller is finally here, and you know immediately that that thing is not gonna last more than another second.
Yeah, I know how that feels.
Oh yeah, it was quite funny. Yeah, potentially many more kills, Rooster Tamer for Hop Hop. A frown would be appropriate for how the workers feel. Absolutely. Wonder what he's gonna tell customer support. Oh man. Frobo got that RGB setup. Yeah, even Polly and Frobo are gamers for sure.
They're all gamers.
They're all gamers. Oh, poor Domino almost gets like zapped as well. And ends up having to unplug it, and the garage is of course a mess. But Polly, she's just doing her best, like she really misses Frobo. She's got some kinks to work out, and Polly was the closest with Frobo out of everyone, so it makes sense that like his death in true colors would be hitting her particularly hard. And I can imagine too that she feels responsible for him. And yeah, I do feel for Polly a lot in this episode. And but also like the planters, Sprig and Hop Hop and Anne, they have a good point, saying like this is dangerous, maybe we should wait until we're like more sure, or like until we're back in Amphibia to turn him on. But I also feel for Polly here, like she really misses Frobo. They were really close, so it's kind of sad to see her struggle.
I feel like this episode brought out the adult in me, where I couldn't help but wince at the property damage and just how much it would cost to repair. That's all I kept thinking about every time they like blasted a hole in the roof and like lasered the garage.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, that's so much money.
That's why I felt so bad for Mr. Boonchoy. Not only was he not able to enjoy his gamer time, but he at the end he was like, my backyard. Like the poor guy has so much to deal with in this episode. Anne suggests
this fucking bear.
Anne suggests Polly, play with something else in the meantime while she doesn't have Frobo, and suggests this bear that she had as a kid. And this thing is friggin' horrifying. Like, what is this?
Eyes.
What is this monstrosity? Yeah, when it was like, I eat ice cream. I eat ice cream. Like that took me out. I was laughing so hard.
The one that got me was let me nibble your fingers or something like.
Oh my god!
They don't even
explain that. They don't even explain
divert
that
into something else. It's just they leave it at that. It's like, let me nibble your fingers. Jesus Christ!
And I love the little kind of callback that Anne has here, where she's like, Loggle would love this thing, right?
Because Loggle would. He's a complicated frog.
He's a complicated man. Yeah, because Loggle does a similar thing with his voice, and so I thought that was a funny little callback. And yeah, this thing is horrifying. I don't know why this thing needs to exist. Just get your kids a normal plush, yeah.
Those things are like super popular though. Toys like that back in the 90s, they were massive, like Furbies and shit like that. It was crazy.
That's very true. That's very true.
And people have now realized how utterly horrifying they are, and they've become sort of like they've gained like a second life on the internet. Like you've got those long Furbies that people do.
Yeah. Oh my god, those are rightfully horrifying. I love how for this line they don't have an explanation. Like for the eyes one, it's like they at least explain it. There's like, oh, he means ice cream. But for this one, it's like, no, he's just gonna straight up nibble your fingers. I want to nibble your fingers. This thing is just terrible. It's horrifying.
A horrible little smarmy grin as well.
Yeah. Polly, at least for a moment, is being surprisingly mature when Anne and Hop Hop and Spring tell her to be patient and wait to bring Frobo back. And for a split second, Anne believes her. Polly's like, yeah, maybe you guys are right. And Anne's like, wow, that's surprisingly mature of you. And then immediately Polly's like, hey, can I borrow your laptop? And Anne's like, I don't see why not. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
not suspicious at all, huh?
Anne, for all her development as an individual, is sometimes still dumb as rocks.
Yes, absolutely. Leaving this little 5-year-old unsupervised on the internet is not necessarily the best idea, and but this is hard, right? Polly's like trying to talk to Frobo, but Frobo's obviously still not working, and this just makes her more determined though to figure it out and to fix him, right? And I absolutely loved this whole sequence. Like, this really made me so happy. I thoroughly enjoyed watching this, with Polly basically opening up the internet, going to Dougal, of course, our trusted search engine, and just straight up searching robotics and like getting into it, right? Like, she's looking on the big old wiki. What does robotics mean? She's got these, again, we talked about, like, the toys from the 90s. There's a bunch of like these little Easter eggs here with like these toys that really resemble stuff that I had, toys in the 90s, the little dog, the little robot dog. And I think this looks like a Neopet to me, but
Yeah, do you remember the eye dog? Do you remember that?
yes, I do remember that eye dog. I had one of those.
That's really reaching back. There are going to be some people in the chat who don't remember the eye dog because they
I
weren't born.
I had an eye dog because for the longest time as a kid, I wanted a real dog, but my parents wouldn't let me get a real dog. And so I
You got
had
an
a
eye
ton,
dog.
I had a lot of virtual dogs in my day. I had the eye dog, I got Nintendogs, like just a lot of virtual pets. Neopets, of course, is something that I was into. Neopets, Zoe was into as well. Handshake meme between Anne and Adora. All the character development in the world could not give us more brain cells. I still have to watch She-Ra too. That's another one.
You are a criminal.
I know, I really am.
You're a criminal who hasn't seen nearly enough good stuff,
I know. I'm sorry.
and
That's
that
that's on
needs to be
me.
rectified immediately.
I loved seeing all these robot frogs that Polly looks up as well. Like where we get a bunch of these kind of like, again, like just these little interesting, little big sword frog, how to unlock, just like lots of little visual gags around here, which is quite fun.
There's a spelling error in the or like a grammatical error rather in the big old wiki page
Oh.
that was all I could think about. It really bothered me because I'm an asshole.
I mean, it's Wikipedia. There's gotta be there's gotta be some errors and typos. This one I think is supposed to be a Gundam, which is fun.
And you've got one holding the what I think is Cloud's Buster sword thing. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
anything about Final Fantasy, but I recognize the blade.
Yeah, she says Cloud Frog in the chat. That's pretty funny. Yeah, this show just has so many so many references. Buster Sword Frog. Yes, so good, so good. Love it. And then this kind of, this looks like an Amazon, right? Like like a page, and this is a collectible, perfect collectible for adults and children. Endless hours of gameplay. This robot is quite fun. I'm surprised there wasn't a picture of the frog guy from Chrono Trigger.
Isn't
Oh
that
yeah. Oh my gosh, I forgot about the frog guy from Chrono Trigger. He's
that is a
great.
gun? Yeah, that is a little Gundam.
Yeah.
Got a little Gundam kind of thing about it.
I love this random GIF that Polly stumbles across too. What is it called? Like Bibsy or something like that. It's just this little dancing weird animatronic guy, and I'm just like, yeah, that tracks for stuff you find on the internet.
I kind of hate it. It's kind of horrifying.
It is horrifying. Perfect. We got all the creepy, horrifying vibes for Halloween today. Is this also a FNAF reference? It might be. It might be Zoe. Yeah. It could just be a weird, creepy dancing animatronic.
Whatever it is, it's a mess, and I hate it.
We get a couple more gags here as Polly has finally made her way to YouTube, aka Tube, in this universe. She's found some sleepy lo-fi tunes, and then Best of Angry Gamers,
Angry
September
Gamers.
2020. I thought that was funny too. Kind of reminds me of what are they called? Game Grumps?
Uh,
I
I
don't
feel
know.
like yeah, I don't actually watch any Game Grumps, so I cannot confirm or deny
Yeah,
that.
I don't
But
know.
my first thought was like Angry Joe and Angry Video Game Nerd. Just the worst content creators. Just terrible.
um I love pausing during these discussion streams as well because I love catching the little gags that I missed like the first time. So Polly's searching for robot build on Tube, and this first one that's come up is new epic robot
Fork
skin
knife.
fork knife, and then it says 1 million views, but it was uploaded 2 seconds ago.
Yeah, that's YouTube though, isn't it? It's like,
That is YouTube.
oh,
That's
Fortnite is a scourge.
That's so funny. That's really, really funny. Tig Tog compilation, funny laughter plus dance plus memes for this robot dance meme, Tig Tog compilation, number 100.
Oh,
It's quite
God.
funny. That's quite
It's
funny.
so horrible.
Lo-fi
I
is
hate
canon.
it.
Yeah, lo-fi is a thing, absolutely, across all universes. If you need that creepy animatronic fix, Walton Files is a great series. I get so many recommendations from everyone all the time. I can never keep up with everything.
You need to prioritize the Shawshank Redemption. You can't just not watch the Shawshank Redemption. That's not how this works, okay?
All right, fair
It's
enough.
not how life works.
And Shia does think that was a Game Grumps reference, so
I
that's
literally
fine.
don't know anything about the Game Grumps, so I'm just going to assume that both of you are correct.
I mean, I don't know. Robots are cool. I'm 5 years old. 5 views from a week ago. Hey guys, my mom said if I get 500 views, I can go to Fork Night convention. Please subs. Oh my god, I missed all of these the first time I watched it. Top 10 robot creepypasta stories. 500k views 2 weeks ago. 10 bone-chilling robot stories from around the internet that are sure to keep you up tonight. I love these memes, these gags that also there's so many tiny visual gags in the background of this kid's like thumbnail photo of his YouTube video. He has a poster that says "My Hero Macadamia Nut." And there's a macadamia nut on this poster.
Oh my god.
And
Where's Ed when you need him?
I'm
Where's
literally
Ed?
gonna cry. That's so funny.
Why is Ed not here? He'd be going crazy for that. MHA is his favorite thing on the planet.
That's hilarious. You need to share that with him because he would
I
get a good kick
will.
out of that. Um
Just two girlfriends who really love robots.
yes.
We're procrastinating talking about the IT
Yes, yes,
gals.
yes.
Who are the two
I was saving them.
most powerful individuals on the planet. And I have no doubt that they could strong arm Andreas into submission.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Two gals building robots. Yes, they are gay, Zoe. They're two girlfriends, and I love that we get this little rainbow flag emoji. But I also love, continuing this kind of YouTube gag, right? Like they're even the IT gals can't help but do some clickbait shenanigans. They're like, we built a panda robo! Exclamation point, question mark, extreme in all caps. And their thumbnail is like with the arrow pointing and like the question mark on their robot. They obviously the writers and the folks who boarded this or who animated this sequence, they obviously very much understand YouTube culture because they got all these little gags in, and it's so funny to me.
Not clickbait.
Not clickbait. We built a panda robo, not clickbait.
In brackets.
Oh, so
All
good.
caps.
And Polly ends up being drawn into this clickbait as well, and she ends up clicking on the thumbnail, and we get into we built a panda robo extreme. And you know what, these girls are doing pretty good for themselves. They've got 11k views. They're doing pretty well. They're on their way to becoming YouTube sensations.
They're on their way from misery to happiness today.
Obviously their clickbait works because 100k view in 2 days. Yeah, right.
Fair enough.
I also wanted to point out some attention to these girls. I think it was one of the character designers or artists on the show who posted this on Twitter. But I believe these girls' names are Jess and Allie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And
they have it in the credits at the end of next episode.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's in the credits as well. Cool. So yeah, so Jess and Allie are their names. Yeah, Shia, if you're able to find those tweets, you should absolutely link them in the chat, because the designer for these characters actually did confirm that these two girls are pansexual and bisexual, which is really cool. I absolutely love that. Yeah, and it's so cool that they integrated the flag designs actually into their color schemes. So like this girl here, I don't know which is which. One of them is Jess, one of them is Allie, but this girl here, she has, pink hair, this blue band-aid on her face, and then like this yellow on her jumpsuit, and like that's the pan flag colors. And then this girl has like kind of the bi flag with like the purple and the blue. And I just freaking love that. That's so awesome.
I'm not even wearing my pan jacket right now. I'm a failure.
Pan club, baby. Yeah, I just love seeing this representation, like the fact that I would love if we get more explicit with it if these characters like come back. Like I would love to see them like holding hands or like doing something cute like that. Because I actually kind of missed it the first time I watched the episode. They say girlfriends, and at first I was kind of like, I wonder if they are like actually girlfriends, like dating, or they're just like saying girlfriends. And then as I rewatched the episode, I caught, the little rainbow flag emoji, and saw the tweets and everything.
Fucking kidding me? Look at them.
They're so gay.
Obviously girlfriends.
They're so
the
gay.
levels are through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah, so I really loved seeing this representation. I thought that was really fun and really awesome. And yeah, I hope that we get to see more of them, is basically what I'm saying. Like I would love to see them like being cute together, and maybe like doing some robot builds together, and like, yeah, I just want to see them interact more. And I really enjoy these characters.
I want to see them beat the shit out of Andreas. I want to see them shove, kick his ass.
Oh my god, yes, that would be so adorable.
One on the right really looks like, arms like howitzers, one punch, that's all it would take. One punch and he's out.
Absolutely. I want to see them fight Andreas too. They've got a playlist that you can click on to, learn more where to start. IT Gal's self-help playlist. I absolutely love that. Also, Zoe, that's very cool that your girlfriend is Pan.
I'm trying to think of a pun, but it's not happening.
You're trying to think of a pan.
That's
that's I tried. Polly ends up getting this cute outfit together. This like
wait. I've got one. In response to your terrible pun.
Okay.
That didn't quite pan out for you, did it? Ayo, got him.
Boo.
What do you mean boo? That was a million times better than what you did.
Fair enough.
Mine was actual wordplay that made sense, okay? Don't you boo me. It's a shame. You're just jealous.
Fair enough. Polly gets her tools together. She's got her outfit. Her hat has a duck on it. She's freaking ready to go. She's following these YouTube tutorials. I freaking love this rabbit hole that she finds herself in. IT Gals vid, part 3, next video. She's clicking on. Next video. Click, subscribe, follow, turn on the bell for notifications. Check your settings, all that stuff. Smash that like button. Who needs a college education in robotics when you have a tube? Yeah, exactly, Zoe. Exactly. If you've got tube, you can learn anything.
That's the Goodwill Hunting thing of like getting a really robust university education through just like stray books.
Yeah. And you know what?
For $1.50.
I don't consider myself necessarily like a smart person. Like there's certain things I'm good at, but I don't really consider myself a smart person. But I do kind of think of myself as like a fast learner. I feel like I can pick stuff up pretty easily. And I gotta say that I really resonated with Polly during this whole sequence as well, because for those of you who tuned into my stream yesterday, y'all might remember that I did something very similar to this actually very recently, in that I fell down a YouTube rabbit hole and watched a bunch of YouTube videos for like weeks on end and ended up building my own keyboard, which I'm gonna show off right now because it's so beautiful, and I
Please
just
show
have
it off.
to.
I want to see it again. It's pretty.
I'm unplugging it and showing off my beautiful
Uh,
keyboard. The
And you
lighting
need to do
is,
some typing on it so I can hear it as well.
oh my god, yeah. I tried to do a typing test yesterday, but my mic settings weren't really letting it work. But yeah, I basically did what Polly did. And I built something. I built a robot. You can consider this a robot, I think. I built a robot just by watching YouTube videos, basically. So
I'm not sure I consider it a robot so much as an appliance, but you built something very impressive.
thank you. I appreciate that. Um, and Zoe fell down a Raspberry Pi rabbit hole. So
Well, I fell down a flight of stairs.
no, 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 fell down a
And I fell
flight of
down a flight of stairs.
Also, yay, Shia found the tweet from the designer. Alex Swanson is the one who designed those characters, and they posted about it and talked about the flags, which is very, very cool. So thank you
And
for finding those, Shia.
they look fully prepared to beat the shit out of someone.
They
Look,
do.
and by someone I mean Andreas.
They do. They do. They actually kind of remind me of your OC, Tom, of Jelly.
Jelly, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Jelly's a mechanic.
Jelly is a mechanic, so that's really actually.
So it makes sense. She is an engineer.
I just made that connection. That's cute. You got to put stickers on your robot. You got to customize it. You just gotta. It's a very important step. The time continues on. I love, how we're getting this overlay of the girls, the IT gals talking, oh, you can find stuff around your house, while Polly like pulls out this paper clip. This whole sequence was just really fun with Polly watching the YouTube videos and building Frobo and like getting really into it. I wanted to pause on this portion in particular because we get the this kind of discussion that gets brought up, but it doesn't necessarily really go anywhere. But I think it's really important that it gets brought up in this moment, and particularly for this episode, but also the next episode. I feel like it's kind of relevant. And yeah, I wanted to just draw some attention to this discussion that the IT gals have brought up here, which is this concept of robots having souls, right? And I feel like this is particularly like thoughtful timing for us to bring up this question at this point with this about this idea of like robots having souls. And their explanation, right, is that anything that has memory has a soul, and computers have a lot of memory. And I don't necessarily 100% agree with that in our real world, but in the world of Amphibia, I really like this idea.
It's a very Blade Runner kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And yes, I am talking about Blade Runner because I will take any human possibility to talk about Blade Runner.
Honestly, I thought about Blade Runner as well during this part. I was like, oh yeah, I wonder.
Like, memory plays a really, really important role in Blade Runner in terms of determining what constitutes like human, or what makes something like a person. Like,
yeah,
there's that whole thing of the legendary Tears in Rain speech just being him literally just rifling off memories, just things that he's seen, and all of it's for nothing because they've arbitrarily decided he doesn't have a right to live. And of course, you've got Anne-sterminator in 2049. All the best memories are hers, and she talks about good memories, convincing memories will create real human responses.
Yeah, and I really love that concept, and I really love that Amphibia is kind of having this discussion now about these like robots, having their own sentience and like having their own souls and like that kind of stuff. And I feel like they're bringing this up right now because, not only are we about to get some really emotional moments with our Frobo, but in the next episode too, we're dealing with like the cloak bot and some pretty big stakes with that robot. And so I feel like, yeah, I just feel like this is an important point to kind of like put some attention on, as this was brought up in this episode.
Yeah. Hyrule mentioning Ghost in the Shell as well.
I love their little panda robot guy too. I love that he makes like dial-up sounds. Like, it's pretty funny. And yeah, so they talk about this idea of robots having souls, and I just think that that's very relevant for both of these episodes that we got today. Polly tries to turn Frobo on, but it ends up not working. And so she says something along the lines of like, time to call in the big guns. And she actually ends up contacting the IT gals. And I really love, again, there's like these little tiny gags here, right? This is obviously a parody of Zoom because we've got a room meeting happening right on top here. And Anne's username is cute too. She's like Anna_banana. And then the IT gals are very cute. I just love kind of seeing them. And yeah, all these little like Zoom things that are at the bottom, right? Like it's very kind of relevant. Um, Also, like one little yeah, the chibi portraits, very cute, very cute. One little like animation detail I noticed too that just like really tickled me in this scene was we get this shot of Polly at the computer like talking to the IT gals, and as she's talking to them, it's not quite this part, but when we see, yeah, this part here where Polly is like at the screen talking to them, we actually see a little bit of a delay. So like as Polly is talking, she's like moving her eyes and her arms a little bit, and the video recording on the computer screen is like a little bit delayed from what Polly is actually doing. And I just thought that that was such like a great detail to include because like that's how these Zoom meetings actually work, right? There's always like a little bit of a delay. So I just thought that that was like they didn't have to do that, but they did that anyway. I thought that was a fun detail.
An eye for detail. It's wonderful.
Yeah, totally. And it's like the tiniest little delay gag too. Like it's so small, but like yeah, it's just I thought that that was just a fun detail.
I didn't even notice that because I'm a brain idiot.
Oh my god, it was so small. It's like I just thought it was neat. Headcanon that Polly used Mrs. Boonchoi's credit card to subscribe to the IT Gals Patreon. Yeah, get the Zoom call with us tier. Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, that's funny. That's really funny.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it would. That would.
That would make a lot of sense. I didn't even think of that, but that's good. That all checks out.
Yeah, I like that headcanon, Zoe. Polly admits that she used the TV remote batteries to put into Frobo, and the IT gals explain to her that that's not nearly enough, right? Like that looks like a robot with a lot of output, and you're probably gonna need a battery in one of those animatronic toys, right? Conveniently, what we have on hand as Anne introduced us to her friend earlier.
Oh God.
And we get a warning though from the IT gals, right? The IT gals say like, okay, like you can do this, but you know, don't turn it on at home. That thing looks like it is capable of a lot of output. You want to do this in a big warehouse with a bunch of fire extinguishers. And I really love, they're being trying to be responsible and safety first, of course, and all that stuff. And they actually even say like, oh, we can help you get the space, like it'll just take us a couple of weeks, this idea of like we can do it, but we got to go slow and careful, right? Which is what Polly doesn't want to do, but ends up kind of learning by the end that that's sometimes the only way you have to do things. But she Polly ends up kind of just dismissing the warning of doing it in a big open space with fire extinguishers, and she's like, okay, thanks, bye.
And all I can think about is the property damage.
Oh yeah, the property damage. So tragic, so tragic.
Gonna bankrupt the Boonshoys.
Considering they went with a battery that small, no wonder his thrusters failed. Yeah, for sure, Rooster. Gay non-white women in STEM. You love to see it. You do love to see it, boy. You do love to see it. I love these two so much. They're so fantastic. They're just so cute. I love their designs. Like I love her hair buns, and I love that this girl's got pink hair. Like they're just so gay. I love it. Polly ends up taking the battery out of the robot, and just for good measure, for one last time, it's got just a nibble. It just wants a nibble.
Oh God, look at it slumped there. I hate it.
Oh, it's so horrifying. Polly straight up murdered that bear. She did, but you know what? It's probably for the best.
I think the term euthanized is more appropriate here. That thing was on its last legs. It needed
to be put
down.
Out
of its misery.
Yeah. Dress as one of them for Halloween next year. Oh my god, Zoe, that would be so cute.
Is
It'd be adorable.
anyone in the chat actually dressed up right now?
Yeah, who else is dressed up besides me? Is anyone else dressed up as anyone fun or Amphibia or anyone else in costume? Please share. Please share in the chat. And if
Can
you're in the
I?
Discord server, share pictures in the Discord server. Polly is gonna bring Frobo back, but first she wants to get the fam. Give us crypto info. No. Oh my gosh. I love this little gag that we get too, right? Like, what is the line that comes out of the TV? Like something about like gravel being everywhere, and like, it's a very clear reference to which Star Wars movie is it? Do you know, Tom? It's one of
It's
the
episode
prequels.
2. I hate that I know this, but it is specifically episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
So we get a really
I
fun.
hate sand. It's dry and coarse and irritating and gets everywhere. It's like, God, someone wrote this dialogue.
I haven't even
George Lucas
seen.
wrote this.
I haven't even seen that movie, and I knew exactly what this was a reference to. I knew that they were referencing the like, oh, I hate sand part of that movie. But I do love like this little reference that we get here from Hop Hop and Sprig though, because they're literally from another dimension. They have no idea what like the cultural or like the general consensus of these movies are on Earth, and so they're just like we're just watching them in order. We don't understand like the greater context of everything. I just thought that was really funny, and that made me laugh.
I immediately sent you a message after that.
Yeah, you did. That was really funny. We just watched them with no context. You can't blame us for not having the nostalgia. I thought that was really funny. Polly comes in and she's like, "Hey guys, I fixed Frobo again." And Anne has this funny moment where she's like, "Oh, I thought you were just watching cat videos. Dang it, you outfoxed me again." She says, right? That was pretty funny. And then Polly's like, "Yes, there was deception, and but I got help on the internet, and now I fixed Frobo, right?" And I did feel a little bad for Polly in this moment too, because she put in a lot of work. She watched a bunch of YouTube videos, she studied, she understood, she actually reached out for help as well too, right? Like she actually contacted the IT gals, didn't listen to their warning, but she still reached out to them. And
the IT gals know. See, unlike Jan, who I'm still skeptical of where she lies, ethically speaking. I would trust my life to the IT gals.
Me too.
And I would lay down my life for the IT gals.
Me too. Absolutely.
I would die for them.
They're so great. They're so fantastic. Hop Hop as being like, it's way too dangerous for you to be messing around that stuff. And, Sprig, my hair is still singed from the last time. And really being the responsible self that she's become now in season 3. She has this line where she's like, what if it blows off your legs and you literally just got your legs, right? She's really trying to appeal to Polly here and really try to like get through to her. And she insists that maybe we should wait until we get back to Amphibia to turn him on, which I think is a little unfair. Like, I think if they would have been like, maybe we should get some help, or like, the IT gals were literally on their way, as we find out in a little bit. Like, if we were just a little bit more patient, Polly, then maybe we could have, this whole thing could have gone a little bit better. But I did feel bad for her because, Anne saying like, maybe we should wait till we get back to Amphibia seems like, they have no idea when they're getting back to Amphibia. They have no clues as to how to get back right now. So I totally feel Polly's like impatience here, because she put in the work. She put in all this effort, and now she's being told like, no, we're just going to have to wait an indefinite amount of time. And, I really did feel bad for her here.
I mean, she's basically learned the content of like several degrees in robotics in the span of several hours. So fair enough. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And she might be a genius.
She might be a genius.
Because that's impressive. Like, she's pretty fluent by the end. And
yeah, for like a 5 or 6-year-old, like that's really impressive. YouTubers who actually interact with their audience and give them good advice. IT gals are 1 in a million. Yeah, I think they're fantastic. They're so great. I totally agree with Zoe that you can always trust the queers. You can always trust the gays. Also, Hyrule, yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about that. That Polly did learn a whole freaking other language in the last episode. So yeah, Polly is kind of a genius.
Polly's a genius.
Oh my god, Rooster Tamer. I mean, like, I know Frobo is dangerous, but that's like telling Anne she can't let Marcy out of the pickle jar until Andres is dead. Oh, that's funny.
I mean, that's not, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah, Polly
God.
totally should be the queen of Amphibia. She's a freaking genius.
I don't know if, I feel like Polly wouldn't go in for monarchies, though. Monarchies are only ever bad news.
Yeah, but Polly would take it if offered to her.
I don't need. I think Polly doesn't really want the responsibility. I feel like she's more of an anarchist. They have become anarchists.
Fair. She is an anarchist.
Hot Pop said, "Eat the rich." Okay?
That's very true.
The planters are anarchists now.
Now they're anarchists. They weren't at the beginning, but now they are. So they end up, trying to stop Polly. Polly is like, "You guys don't understand. I'm gonna bring him back." She doesn't want to wait anymore, but and runs off, right? And the three of these folks are trying to stop her because they are worried that something dangerous is going to happen. They're worried that Polly's going to get hurt, which is, as we know, a totally fair feeling to have because, as the IT gal said before, like, we want to be careful when turning this thing on. But Polly's like, I'm not waiting another second to see my best friend again, right? I really feel her pain in that moment. And then again, we get another really great moment with Mr. Boonchoy here. And again, it's one of those moments where it's like, as soon as he was like, oh, I've put 10 hours into this boss fight and one more hit and I'll win. And at that moment, you know exactly what's about to happen.
I never would have taken Mr. Boonchoy for a gamer, but
I love that he's a gamer.
He is. What is that thing propped up against the desktop? What is that?
Yeah, it's like Val something online. It must be a reference to like an MMO of some kind because I can't quite read it. It's a little blurry, but yeah, it's some sort of MMO. He's in a raid too. I know, the poor guy.
Does that mean Amphibia is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends?
OMG, yeah, probably. That's a game case, like the old way to buy MMOs. Yeah, and I love he built that PC. Yeah, this totally looks like a custom PC as well. No glowing keyboard. That's right. He does not have a cool mechanical keyboard like I do now, so he's not quite the true pro gamer, but he's got some pretty gamer pro gamer stuff around here. He's got his webcam, he's got this post-it note that says grind to level 50. And then there's a couple post-it notes here that's like spell something, potion times 20. He's obviously keeping notes about his game and sticking it on his monitor, which is quite funny. He's got like the can of air that like, you can clean your devices with, which is cute. He's got a ton of cans of different like energy drinks and like coffee and stuff like that. So it's like this guy, is obviously chugging away and up late at night gaming with his buddies. And there's a lot of fun little details on the bookshelf as well. Business for dummies, food for thought, Anne's first birthday, some like board games and stuff down here. So yeah, just a lot of fun little details, and getting to kind of flesh out Mr. Boonchoy as a character a little more is really fun. I like to think
really
he's
gets the brunt of it.
I like to think he's gaming with other dads that have kids from Anne's school. That would be adorable, boy. I would love that. Yeah, the compressed air can. And a controller hook. Oh my gosh, that's a good point, Zoe. And he has no controller to put on his controller hook. So sad, so tragic. Poor Mr. Boonchoy. I feel so bad for him. Yeah, he's been fighting this boss fight for 10 hours, and all he's got to do is one more hit until he wins the boss fight. And of course, right at that moment is when the electricity short circuits the entire thing and causes a blackout. And all we see is poor Mr. Boonchoy bury his face in his hands. I felt so bad for him at this moment. I was like, oh, you poor thing. I know that pain. It is a familiar
you are
gamer
a pro
pain.
gamer, as we know.
I am a pro gamer. Okay, jokes aside, I am a pro gamer because I have now gotten paid at this point because of playing video games on Twitch. So I am a pro gamer, all jokes aside. Polly, doesn't give a rat's ass what the others have to say. She's gonna bring her friend back. She ends up starting Frobo back up, and he is reset back to his factory default settings, right? He's got like his startup model number he's saying or whatever, and his eyes are like blue instead of yellow, as we saw him before. And he's talking about how his factory settings were restored, and Polly is she's really desperate to have her Frobo back, but it ends up not working out that way, and the robot's like, oh, I need a higher vantage point to like get the signal or whatever, right? And it ends up breaking a hole through the roof and firing off the thrusters, and Polly is on his back and going up with him, and yeah, now that we see Sprig here, y'all can see that I am dressed as him. The costume. And Polly is flying up on Frobo, and we get these warning signs as the thrusters end up failing. It might be because of the batteries, or it might be because, that he's just literally a washing machine right now. But his thrusters end up failing, and he ends up needing to not needing to, but he essentially, starts falling down. And I didn't want to question too hard about how the IT gals found their way to the Boon Choi residence. Maybe I just like to think of them as responsible people following up on Polly.
They probably know. I feel like they probably know how to track the IP address of something.
I'm sure they could figure that out too. Yeah,
like they
IP
seem like
tracking,
they understand tech.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. It's a little creepy, not gonna lie, but it is nice of them, I guess, to have followed up. Anne doesn't know how to use a VPN. Yeah, that's true, Zoe.
Does that mean that Amphibia is sponsored by NordVPN?
No, yeah, probably. Um I love this moment too, right? Where the IT gals are like, do you guys know a kid named Polly? Little kid, she's got a tail, right? Like they don't question it, but they're like, oh, she's got a tail. And we have this really funny moment, this beat, right, where Sprig and Hop Up and Anne just kind of point upwards at Polly, like falling from the sky. That's true.
Polly
Tech engineering and software engineering are very different. That's true, Shia.
Yeah, but they seem like they know a lot about lots of different kinds of engineering.
Yeah, that, like Zoe says, it it involves both.
They look like they know a lot about a lot of things.
They do. Yeah, they probably tracked Anne's IP. So, but nice to know that they're local. That's a good, kind of confirmation that we'll probably be seeing them again. They'll probably be helping us out more because they're actually like here physically, which is fun. Polly is like crying as Frobo's falling. This moment was pretty heartbreaking. I definitely teared up a little bit during this scene. Also because it's scary, right? She's falling and she's like, we're both gonna die now. And you're like, oh, Polly, you poor thing. We get this kind of moment. What does this moment remind me of? This
Iron Giant.
Iron Giant, yes. The tears are what kind of it is kind of like a trope, right? Of like kind of sci-fi, more fantasy, I think, but this idea of like tears being magical and like kind of bringing things back and like bringing things back to life. And I kind of like that. Yeah,
Pokemon the first movie.
So I thought this was like a fun kind of like play on that trope, right? Where Polly's tears end up being the right lubricant or something to get this memory drive, I guess, working again. Protagonist BS. Yeah, exactly. I've been emotional lately. I cried at this. Yeah, this was definitely emotional, Zoe. I don't blame you at all. And we get this flashback too. Amphibia loves torturing us with these emotional flashbacks. We get to relive Frobo's death again, and it's really heartbreaking to watch again, and especially as we are, experiencing this moment. And we get Frobo back. His eyes turn back yellow, and he's back to his usual old self.
I don't know why this reminded me. I mean, not this specifically, but like Polly's relationship with Frobo for some reason reminds me of Terminator 2. Which you wouldn't know because you haven't seen Terminator 2.
I have not seen Terminator 2. I apologize. I've not seen like any movie. Apparently, this falling scene was based on that scene from Spirited Away, according to the storyboard artist. Oh, yeah, I can totally see that connection. That's
Although it's a little more whimsical in Spirited Away because they're not in immediate danger of dying.
Right, yeah. But and yes, I haven't seen She-Ra. We talked about that a little earlier too, Morgan. I haven't seen a lot of things. I know
I haven't seen BoJack.
I haven't seen BoJack. I know. I'm getting my gay card revoked, Morgan.
You're not gay enough.
I'm not. But that's cool that this is a Spirited Away reference. I can totally kind of see that connection. So now that Frobo's memory is back, he is back to wanting to protect Polly, and Polly points out like, "Oh, hey, glad that you're back. By the way, we're plummeting to our death right now." Poor Frobo. But Frobo wants to protect Polly, which is really like, again, my heart, right? Like he's willing to sacrifice himself for Polly, and this is like the second time he's doing it. And he tries to, slow down the fall with the thrusters. He ends up like putting Polly inside the washing machine to keep her safe, and he's like bouncing around. He goes through the tree, bounces off the roof, and then crashes into the backyard, and the outside of Frobo is able to help keep Polly safe and cushion her fall a little bit, which leads us to kind of this really heartbreaking moment with Sprig pulling Polly out, and there's like thank goodness she's okay, and we get this really sad moment with Polly where she's like, I was so impatient with bringing him back that I killed him all over again, and I was like, oh no, Polly, you poor baby. I felt so bad.
She's a murderer.
Oh, she's just a little murderer, but an accidental murderer. But yeah, Frobo does end up waking up. I think probably all he needed was just the bigger battery. And we get this really touching moment with Polly and Frobo where Polly's like, "Oh, you big lovable lug." I thought that was really cute. And she says, "This time I'll be really slow and cautious and patience for rebuilding you." And it's a really touching moment, right? She kind of learns her lesson here that like she can't rush things. She's got to take her time with this.
She's a genius though. Like we can't undersell that.
We really can't undersell how freaking genius Polly is. Like she's one smart baby.
She's a heckin' smart baby, and she's got all of her fashion tips from Bob Hoskins.
No, Shia, the battery went in his head, I'm pretty sure, right?
She put the batteries in his head.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the battery went like on top of in between his eyes, like kind of on the top of his head here. So yeah, I think that's where the power source was, Shia. But yeah, the IT gal say something along the lines of like, oh, his hard drive is still like intact, right? So that's why he's able to be awake. And I love that shot of them too, where they're like super starry-eyed and like just really excited about the Frobo robot, because they just love robots, right? I love that they've got this like passion and this excitement about robots. It's really adorable. And this is a really sweet scene too, right, where they're talking about like kind of the specs of the robot and like talking in all these technical terms, and Polly's like engaging in the conversation with them, and she's like able to understand all their like acronyms and all that stuff. And I'm just like, wow, this is literally me falling down the YouTube rabbit hole learning about mechanical keyboards. And then like, because I don't know if you all for those of you who tuned into yesterday's stream where I built my keyboard, there were actually a handful of new folks that joined us for that stream as well, which was really cool. Some folks who were like specifically looking for keyboard building streams, and they were like knowledgeable in their own way of like their keyboards and stuff, and they were like typing in the chat, they were talking about their keyboards, and like I felt like I was able to engage with them. I was able to talk about them about like keyboards and like all this stuff and like all the parts and everything. And I totally felt like Polly in this moment where it's like, oh, I can actually like talk about this stuff and like engage with these people. And like, yeah, this moment was really, really adorable. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And of course, I really loved that, we finally got the recognition from Anne and Hop Hop and Sprig, where they're like, oh wow, Polly like actually got really into this computer stuff and like knows what she's talking about. And Hop Hop has this really funny line here where he's like, maybe we should have like used the internet to learn and research and educate ourselves instead of just watching cat videos. And then
the shot of them dancing to the cat video music is one of the best shots in the entire show.
Oh my god, I honestly laughed so hard at this shot of them just dancing.
The face that Hop Pop is making is pure gold. Hop Pop's faces are always great.
Oh, they're always so great. I love, like the lazy eyes on Sprig. They're just dancing around, and Anne's got like the her arms out like in this position. It's really good.
I like Hop Pop. This has nothing to do with anything, but Hop Pop has like a particular way of delivering certain kinds of lines that are my favorite in the show, where he'll say something really dramatic in a really like happy way, or like a really neutral way at the very least, like I don't feel safe, or or like, oh no, my skin is burning.
You're right, yeah.
And there's one at the end of the episode when they have dinner with Sasha and Grime. And the volcano cake destroys their entire house. And it does like the zoom out shot of the house at the end. They're all laughing and having a jolly time. And then you can just hear Hop Pop go, where are we going to live?
Yeah, that line cracks me up as well. It's really funny. Also, yeah, totally bored. There is not a single brain cell in this entire frame. No thoughts, head empty. Absolutely.
Hop Pop's little dance. I just love it.
It's so good.
Hop
I
Pop's
love
outfit. I know, like I know, like Anne got a redesign. It's really cool and funky, and Sprig is an e-boy now. But Hop Pop's
E-boy
outfit,
Sprig.
I think, is my favorite because there's something about it. There's something about this culmination of all these elements and the ascot.
The Play-Doh nose just really gets me. Like
the Play-Doh nose ties the whole thing together.
It really does. It really does. Yeah, and then this is just such a fun frame, such a fun moment. Like it's so silly, it's so stupid, but it's freaking hilarious.
God, it's great.
And of course, we had to throw in one final gag about Mr. Boonchoy in for good measure. The backyard. No, this poor man has been through so much. Yeah, he totally could not catch a break this episode. Abort. I totally agree. Oh, poor Mr. Boonchoy. I felt so bad for him. This man's just trying to play his video games.
Just let him be a pro gamer, for God's sake.
Let him live his best gamer life.
Like, can you imagine? Like, imagine how Mr. Boonchoy feels, right? Think about what he's seeing right now, with no context for any of this. He walks out into his backyard, finds his daughter and her two frog friends
going like this,
dancing like idiots, like brainless dorks, to this stupid music in a massive crater in his yard.
I want like this frame. I want to take this frame and like post it somewhere and be like, someone who's never seen Amphibia, explain this frame. Like, what do you think is going on in this frame?
Flash mob.
Yeah, poor Mr. Boonchoy having a really rough day. This is just not his day.
Yeah. He gets so little screen time, and he's always so great.
He's fantastic. I adore him. And that's the end of that episode. Did you have any thoughts on fixing Frobo?
Only that, like, this ending reminded me so much of Terminator 2, and that made me really sad. I was more sad by proxy thinking about the ending of Terminator 2, which is really emotional. And also, this isn't related to this episode so much as the next episode. How do you have an episode called Anne-sterminator with like a frog Terminator and make like not really any references to the movie Terminator?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that when we got to it, because Terminator is actually a movie I've seen, believe it or not. I've watched the movie Terminator, but I watched it when I was like a kid, like when it first came out.
That's not a kid's film.
No, I know it's not a kid's film, but like I watched it when...
There was the guy who was in Terminator, who's in Buffy, who plays Luke.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The big hunk, the hunk
Same
with
actor.
the very prominent mouth. who plays like one of the biker dudes that immediately dies at the beginning of Terminator with Bill
Yeah.
Paxton.
Yeah, but yeah, so I have like very wow, Zoe, thanks. But I watched it as a kid, so I don't have like any real memory of it other than like maybe a couple of the scenes.
There's
I know
there
I'll be
weren't
back. I know that's Terminator. Like
there weren't any like major like noticeable Terminator references.
yeah, I was gonna ask you if there were any references in
Not
the
that
episode.
not that I saw. None of like the iconic Terminator moments were in it. Like
Yeah.
and that surprised me a little. Like this episode ended up being closer to Terminator by virtue of being closer to Terminator 2
Yeah.
than was the next episode.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I was gonna ask if we got any major Terminator references in our next episode, but I guess not. Let's go. All right, let's go ahead and get right into Anne-sterminator. So yeah, like I asked before the break, so there doesn't seem to be any Terminator references in this episode, like at all, really.
Not as many as I would have liked.
That's a shame. That is a shame. You think that, being called Anne-sterminator and having this robo guy following him, you would think there'd be more Terminator references, but that's a shame.
I guess like there's that scene when he does self-maintenance in the bathroom, which kind of I guess is kind of reflected in the robot kind of doing a bit of self-maintenance in the top of the bell tower, but that's
Yeah.
a bit of a loose connection.
Yeah, for sure. Um we get this shot of the Frobo guy. We find out actually he's called Cloakbot. I guess that's like his official name, Cloakbot. He is, repairing himself with just like earth stuff, which is really actually kind of cool to see, right? He's got this like buzzsaw as his leg and this like crane as his arm. And then as we see here, he's got a nail gun coming out of his bag, which is actually pretty terrifying. Like I was pretty scared when this thing came out. I was like, wow, that's pretty violent.
Silent but violent.
Gem Princess says kind of surprised they didn't make any references either. Yeah, I was like kind of expecting that.
Maybe they tried, but they couldn't get away with it for copyright reasons. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, Morgan, it is super resourceful of him of all this. Like I
guess you've got the thing of the eye being damaged.
Oh yeah. Maybe. Closest thing we'll see in a Disney cartoon, maybe, Zoe, maybe. Yeah, anyway, like I've talked about this pretty much every time this Cloakbot, this robot guy has shown up. I really enjoy him. I really like him a lot. I think he has a really fun design. I love when he does his little like evil snicker, like the hee like it's so fun. Like I love this guy as like a little bad guy, a little mini boss. I really enjoy just like seeing him on screen, and like I've really grown attached to this little robot guy. Like he's really a lot of fun to me. And we get this scene. He's super resourceful as well, able to put himself back together. And then we get this scene here with Andreas, contacting him and following up. First we get this kind of like funny little gag of, Andreas wanting the Cynthia Coven book, which as we know is a cheeky little reference to Harry Potter. But Andreas is like,
Harry Potter? I thought it was a reference to Silence of the Lambs.
Very funny. Frobo, and the actual the title of the book is like The Prisoner of Boca Raton, which I think is supposed to be like Prisoner of Azkaban, right? Pretty funny. And Andres is like, oh, did you get the book? No, you got book 3. I need book 2. And the robot's like, book 2 is out of stock, which is quite funny. And Andres calls him a rusty bucket, which I thought was uncalled for. That was quite rude, Andreas.
Andreas is a dickhead.
He is a dickhead. Oh, clearly it's a Good Witch Azura reference, of course, Hyrule, of course.
I'm standing by my Silence of the Lambs.
Andreas is like, next you're gonna tell me Anne isn't even dead yet, right? And this robot is like sheepishly working on it. And I like I said, I really enjoy this robot. I think he's a lot of fun. I think he's got a lot of personality. He's really enjoyable just to watch on screen. And I wanted to again just draw some attention to what we learned in the last episode, right? Like we got introduced to this idea of robots having souls and like kind of being their own sentient beings. And I think like it's particularly prominent that we got that in the last episode, especially because in this episode, right, we do see a little bit more of the personality that this cloakbot has. And now Andreas is pulling this move, right, where he's like, well, now you have a timer on you. You've got an hour before your self-destruct bomb goes off and like you need to go kill Anne. And this is like so twisted, so freaking twisted of Andreas to do this, because like this guy's literally a robot, right? Like he's already listening and obeying every single command that Andreas is giving him, and Andreas could have just been like, oh, forget trying to hide yourself, forget cloaking, just kill Anne within the next hour, and like that probably could have also done the same effect. Why did Andreas need to threaten this guy? Like it was so unnecessary.
We talked in the previous episode about the idea of these robots actually having some kind of sentience,
right?
And having a soul, quote unquote. And like we know these things have like a mind of their own.
Yeah.
And this thing like legit doesn't want to die. It's not just a computer.
Yeah, like the stakes are real for this guy. Like they're literally threatening, or Andreas is literally threatening this cloakbot with his life, and it's just like it's crazy. Like it's so over the top, it's so unnecessary, and like that's kind of what I mean by like we kind of love to hate Andreas, and he's just so twisted, and this is like so unnecessary. And he has this like cheeky little sign off that he does here too, right, with like the finger guns and the peace sign, and you're just like what is wrong with you? Like he's just like a lot of fun to hate, in my opinion, and a lot of fun to just like scream at. Like Andreas wanted to have a backup on killing Anne because the bomb most likely would have blown her up even if the bot couldn't find her, given how big the explosion is. Yeah, maybe he was just kind of like trying to blow it up, and maybe he's like at this point ready to do away with the element of surprise. Like maybe at this point he's like, oh, it doesn't matter that we have to like stay hidden anymore because like the next phase is like ready. Kind of what's happening. But yeah, I was a little like, damn, Andreas, like this is so unnecessary.
It's fine. The IT gals are gonna beat his ass.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
It's fine. It's all gonna work out. Don't worry about it. The IT gals, they're on the case.
They're on the case. Also, yeah, totally Rooster Tamer. Like, I was also kind of a little bit hopeful that this robot guy could have been redeemed or come to our side or something like that. But I guess not, huh?
I honestly thought that was gonna happen, and I'm sad that it didn't.
I'm a little sad that it didn't happen either. I was actually pretty heartbroken at the end of this episode for multiple reasons. He's so fun to hate, though. Like I enjoy every moment that I hate him. He's fun to watch. He's fun to scream at. He's fun to be angry at. Like I love hating Andreas. It's a lot of fun.
Just Keith David.
Keith David, yes, he's fantastic. So the cloakbot actually detects Frobo now that Frobo is like back online, so he's able to actually pinpoint and know exactly where they're located based off of the Frobo signal that's kind of going off. Andreas being an apologetic child murdering psycho and keeping his friendly act, yeah, it's truly twisted.
Well, it's not an act though, is it? Like that's something I like about what they did with Andreas.
Yeah.
Is that like it was less of an act and more that he was masking the other side of his personality.
Yeah.
He's still clearly like fundamentally quite playful.
Yeah.
In nature and irreverent. That wasn't an act. And it's one of my least favorite tropes, particularly in anime, when they'll have a character pretending to be good and then they reveal that they're evil and they're like, oh, I can stop doing that face. I can reveal my true plan, and like it basically undoes all the characterization that we'd had with them, and
right,
waste a shit ton of time.
Yeah, but Andreas has kept a lot of that personality. Like a lot of the deception that he did with Marcy ended up being like actually, his personality, like him being kind of like a all right, Andreas out, like that kind of dude, right?
He's irreverent and playful.
Yeah,
but he's still a bastard.
He's still a friggin' bastard. I agree. the Frobo ends up kind of like, flashing his lights a little bit, and we're watching this maybe this is the only the big Terminator references that was in this episode, was that the family is watching Fumigator 4, right? Bloodthirsty Predator
That's
meets
not
All American
Terminator.
Engineering.
That's not Terminator. I thought it would be when I heard Fumigate. I'm like, oh, is that going to be? It's not. That's not Terminator at
I mean,
all.
I don't know, but yeah, I guess like this robot thing that they're
The
watching.
text, the font is Terminator, but like the movie itself bears no resemblance.
Yeah, of course. And but of course we're getting also this important moment with Anne, right? This was a really big Anne episode. This was a really focused on her and like her character, and also like how much she's kind of grown and changed, and like where she is kind of right now. And also, of course, it's a very important episode for Anne and her mom in particular, right? And their interaction, and like how their relationship has changed and grown based off of like the things that have happened to Anne, right? So that was a really big thread throughout this episode, and we're kind of getting the first bit of that here with Anne, walking back and forth of the screen, doing chores. She's like putting the laundry away, she's folding it, she's taking the trash out. She's doing all these things, helping out around the house. I love that little clip too of her like doing the spin, and the dishes are all clean. Like that's just a cute little moment. And this is a fun moment too, right? Where Hop Hop goes to put his drink down, and before he can even place it on the table, Anne is there with the coaster and is there to protect the table, and everyone's like, "Ooh, really impressed," and like clapping for her. Like it's kind of sweet, right? Like Anne is really showing her display of growth, and everyone's kind of taking a moment to acknowledge that here, and I like that a lot.
She's entered adulthood.
Yeah.
I mean, she hasn't, but she's putting a coaster down. That's like a very like typical grown-up thing to do.
Yeah, totally.
It took me way longer to learn to do that.
Yeah, same here. Morgan says, I wonder if when Cloakbot sensed the unregistered Frobot that he thought he was already getting replaced. Oh, that would be interesting to think about. Yeah, I don't know if we got any hints towards that, but that would be interesting. It took me a while to get to the fume part of the fun being the fact that it is the I don't think I understand Rooster Tamer. I'm sorry.
Pun. It's meant to say pun. Fume part of the pun.
Oh, fume part of the pun being the gotcha. Okay, that's funny. Morgan says, and twirling around and all the dishes being magically washed made me so jealous. Yeah, I wish I could do that too. That would make life so much easier.
And blushing is precious. Anne is precious.
Anne is precious. Anne is adorable. I love her. And her mom has this moment where she's like, you've changed a lot, and her dad is like, you used to be so responsible, you used to change the grades on your report card. And I love that moment with Anne where she's like, oh, I didn't realize you guys knew I was doing that. Like, that's really fun and relatable as well. I also did many a thing as a child where I thought I was getting away with stuff, but my parents knew exactly what I was doing. And like her mom is having this moment where she's like really proud of Anne, like saying like, we're really glad that you've been so honest and upfront with us. And this is kind of like allowing that little bit of guilt to come up in Anne, because she knows, right, that there have been things that she has kept from her parents, and she's getting all this praise about how honest she's being, even though that's not quite the truth, right? Yeah, the guilt, I think, is also a big kind of factor in Anne's kind of growth in this episode, right?
And fair, she does act, or try anyway, to act on it pretty immediately.
She does try, right? She brings Sprig into the kitchen, and they have this little joke about the coffee ice cream, and he's like, well, it's pretty risky to eat after 5 p.m. but Anne just wanted to talk to him, right? Like, she explains about how she feels bad about not being totally honest, and there's all these things that she wants to tell them about. And Sprig is like, but you said that this was the only way that they'd be okay with any of this. And yeah, maybe that was kind of true at the beginning, but I think now she's at this point where, she wants to be honest, and she has this moment where she does try to tell them the truth, but of course they are interrupted, right?
Girl Interrupted. That's what Girl Interrupted is about.
That's exactly what it's about.
That's
Interrupted by a
exactly
giant
what Girl Interrupted
Terminator,
is about.
frog Terminator, basically.
That's basically this. It's exactly the same as Girl Interrupted.
Oh my god.
Exactly the same. There's no difference at all.
uh
Plagiarism, frankly.
and yeah, I agree, Morgan, that I'm glad that she's ready to be open and honest now, because I'm really excited to see how the Boon Choi's, what the role that they're going to play in the story is going to be after this episode, now that they do know everything.
I mean, Mrs. Boone Choi has murder in her eyes.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. What's going on? But of course, the robot is there to attack, and Anne doesn't have time, unfortunately, to explain to her parents what's going on. And then we get this kind of a gag, but also like kind of like a little bit scary from Mrs. Boonchoi here. Anne's mom has this sign on the door, right? They say, "Go into my workout room," and you think, "Oh, this is the place where Anne's mom comes to exercise and stay fit or whatever." But then we get this sign, right? Anne away days, and then as we get into the room, we see that this is basically like an Anne shrine of some kind, and we see a bunch of hints here, right? Like as kind of funny as this gag is kind of played off, one of the kind of like big interactions that we get between Anne and her mom in this episode are, Anne's mom having these unrealistic expectations for Anne, and I felt like that was really relatable. Like this is something that I felt like as a kid as well, like feeling like my parents had these expectations for me that were like impossible for me to meet, and so like I really love that this was like a central conflict of this episode, right? And we get a lot of hints actually in these fake ands that Mrs. Boonchoi ended up making, right? Like there's all these things that say like #1 student, diploma, law school, A+, right? And as we know, like school is not necessarily Anne's strong suit, right? Like she's not that great at school. Scholarship to big school is another thing that that is here, right? Anne Hart's Earth, she's recycling and like all the animals love her. She's got A+s everywhere. She's holding an Oscar in this painting here, right? Like I don't necessarily like, I totally feel for Anne here, like really feeling like, oh my gosh, like these standards are way too high, right? Like this is impossible to kind of meet these standards, right? And like the doctor, of course, which is the one that Anne addresses, like why do I get the feeling that I'm not living up to your expectations? And that's a really big conflict in this episode in particular, right?
I mean, how hard could it be to win an Oscar and go to law school and go to medical school?
Get all on a scholarship.
Yeah, how hard could that be? It's probably easy. I haven't tried, but it's probably easy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What? Like it's hard, right? In the words of Elle Woods. Bort says the fact that Anne was away because missing was too painful. Yeah, I totally noticed that too. And we get this line from Anne's mom where she says, "I thought you ran away," right? And this is where I come to work out my stress, which was quite funny. But yeah, it is kind of sad, the fact that they were counting the days and they got to 89 and maybe stopped counting. And yeah, that like when you think about it, it is quite sad to think about. Rooster says, "I gotta mention something I saw in a YouTube comment that Anne's mom stopped counting at 89 days and lost hope." Yeah, so I think yeah, she might have stopped counting after 89. That's quite sad. Yeah, Anne's statue with the A+s. It's really really driving that point home of Anne not meeting her mom's expectations, her high expectations. What else are y'all saying? What do you guys think about Mrs. Boonchoi saying a mom can dream in response? Like I get that. My mom was kind of the same way. She like had all these dreams for me and expectations and all that stuff, but like it's hard. It's hard being a kid and knowing that your parents have like these expectations for you, and uh feeling like no matter what you do, you're never going to meet these expectations, right? And like it's really particularly hard for me to watch, because like something that I kind of struggle with personally is feeling like, not only do people have these expectations for me, but also just like in addition to those expectations, like they are not necessarily seeing the hard work that like I'm already doing, right? And I feel like this is something that Anne must be feeling as well, because like, we saw the whole like first scene in this episode where she's taking out the trash, she's cleaning the dishes, she's doing the laundry, right? And like she did get that moment of praise from her mom where her mom's like, "Oh, you're so responsible." But like it's then immediately followed up with this feeling of like I'm never going to be good enough, right? And I really related to that feeling that Anne is having. Like I'm doing all this stuff, like I'm showing my appreciation. I'm trying to be responsible, but like you still have these unrealistic expectations for me, and like I feel like I'm never going to be good enough. And I did really feel for Anne in this moment.
This is like strangely relevant to the last episode of Buffy we saw.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it is actually totally the idea of like a parent wanting to like, push their kids to their own expectations. Yeah, totally.
And involving a little bit of body swapping. How hard could it be?
Yeah, totally.
A little witchcraft.
Rooster Tamer also says, as someone who doesn't meet their parents' expectations, it hurt. Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, I'm also raising my hand as well, Zoe. Um, Anne is a Mingy kid. That's funny, Bort. Her comfort character is Mingy. That's funny. Yeah, this hit really close to home for me as well, Morgan. So I actually cried at the end of this episode. I absolutely teared up. Yeah, why is this just like a doctor? Mom can dream. Why do I get the feeling I'm not living up to your expectations, right? But of course this conflict is cut short by the cloak bot coming in, and this is where the gag kind of becomes relevant, right? Like to the actual plot, where that's one thing Amphibia continues to do beautifully. Like something that they'll set up as a gag in the beginning of the episode ends up being like the big crucial thing that ends up like saving the day at the end of the episode. And this is a great episode that does that as well, right? Where it's supposed to be kind of funny that Anne's mom is able to make all these replicas, but ends up being the thing that helps them save the day at the end of the episode. But we see that here first, where the cloakbot is confused, not able to identify which one is the real Anne, multiple Anne Boone Choys, it says. And this is where Anne's parents discover that the robot is in fact after her, right?
This is what they call Chekhov's Boon Choi.
Chekhov's Boone Choy. Yeah, totally. Yeah. um and Anne has this line here where she's like, maybe there's a couple things I haven't told you guys yet, as this robot is like mercilessly beating this fake Anne to a pulp. And they've got 30 minutes left, and they end up booking it, right? They get in the car and hightail it out of there. And I really got to give a lot of props to Mr. Boonchoy here for being a freaking pro driver. Like, he's able to
He's a pro gamer. Pro gamers can do anything.
very true, very true. He's got that hand-eye coordination. He's able to drive on the freeway, like, stitching his way through traffic. There's a really funny gag here, right, where he turns back at Anne, and Anne's like, eyes on the road, and he like very nearly hits this this little pug that's walking, and then the robot shows up, and the dog is barking at the robot, but the robot is gone before the girl can look up from her phone, and the girl's like yelling at her dog. Like, this whole sequence was just really funny to me.
Nearly flattens that pug. That was almost an ex-pug.
Almost. Let's see. Considering that his AI is likely programmed to detect amphibian phases. Oh yeah, his facial recognition is probably not the best, huh? This sequence was pretty funny, and then we get this moment with Anne's dad where he's like, I'm not used to running from a crazy robot. And then Hop Hop's like, I totally feel you, Mr. B. Why, the time that I did it, I had this experience, right? And he's like going on and on. It's like, now's not the time, Hop Hop. We're not having this conversation right now. But it also reveals to Mr. Boonchoi, right, that this was not the first time that this robot is attacking them, that this is something that Anne has actually been hiding from them at this point, right?
It was gonna happen eventually.
It's gonna happen.
To be honest, I'm kind of glad they didn't drag it out.
Yeah, for sure. His countless hours in Forza with the steering wheel controller paid off. That's funny. That's funny, Rooster. I really love like these little references too, like to the actual LA area. I used to live in the LA area when I went to college. And so we get, the 101 north is here. We get the exit to Pasadena, all these like freeway signs, and then we get this moment, right, where they're weaving in and out of traffic. Shout out to Mr. Boonchoi. This would be impossible to actually do in LA because the traffic is so bad. And we actually get kind of like a fun little reference to that too, right? Where Anne's mom is like looking on the traffic, but we get this moment too with Anne, right, where she pulls out her athletic tennis skills and she actually does kind of a little back and forth with the robot, which is quite fun. And Anne's dad is like, your backhand's looking pretty rusty, and that's kind of a fun moment too, right?
I feel like Mr. Boonchoi is the easygoing one though.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. He's the chill dad parent, and then mom is the strict one.
They're like a good version of Odalia and Alador.
Oh yeah, they're like the non-evil version.
The non-morally dubious.
The nail gun gets pulled out, right? Again, I was like, oh god, this nail gun is genuinely terrifying. And closes the car from the nail gun, and we get this scary moment where the nails come through the roof. And then this is another funny moment, right? Where like they drive past the billboard for Fumigator 5, which is the sequel to the movie that they were watching at the beginning of the episode. And there's like a traffic police car pulled off at the side of the highway, and they notice this chase sequence happening, but of course, because of the billboard, they're like, looks like they started filming the next Fumigator movie early, which they're in LA. It's totally possible that this could just be filming a movie, right?
Yeah, man, the practical effects in that Fumigator movie, they're so good.
They're so good. The animatronics are all legit.
Beautiful. I really want to eat that sandwich.
That's so random.
It looks like a good sandwich. What do you want from me?
It's a pretty good sandwich. We get this again funny kind of reference to LA traffic, right? Where Anne's mom is putting on her glasses, looking at her phone, trying to look at the traffic, trying to figure out which is the better street for them to go on, and they have this little back and forth where they're like, "No, at this time of day, like there's gonna be no way of us getting across there." But of course, they are forced to turn and get onto this freeway. And Mr. Boonchoi is such a badass. Like, he has this really epic moment here where, like, he just freaking drives straight through the robot. He freaking runs him over, and it's amazing.
Well, as we've learned from the Fast and the Furious franchise, driving is really all about family.
True that.
Which I imagine, given the circumstances of the episode, I imagine it elevated his driving skills to 9,000.
Oh, I'm sure.
Way over 9,000,
I'm sure. I have no doubt. For a moment, they think that they've gotten away, but the robot ends up actually cutting into the freeway and finding them anyway. And they end up driving into this junkyard and getting out of the car and hiding. And there's a little funny moment where Mr. B, clicks the clicker and locks the car door, which, you always got to lock your car door for safety.
Yeah, just in case you're being, set upon by a murder robot.
Just in case. Just in case. A murder robot is strong.
All been there.
A murder robot is strong, but family is stronger. That's a beautiful sentiment, Zoe, and absolutely so true.
Hey, Fast and the Furious taught us all well.
Absolutely.
It's not as strong as family.
The power of family. We get this spoopy moment with the cloak bot searching for them in the junkyard, and this is a moment where where the episode really started to hit me, and I got really emotional. We get this moment where Anne is actually confronting with her mom, and we get a confirmation of Anne's middle name too. It's Anne Savisa Boonchoi, which is cute.
That's a great middle name.
It is a great middle name. Anne's mom confronts her and is like trying to figure out what's going on. Why is there a killer robot after us? And you know, I understand where Anne's mom is kind of coming from in this episode. Like, Anne, of course, was very irresponsible before she went to Amphibia, right? And Anne was not like, Anne's mom didn't see Anne's growth as she was, you know, going through her adventures in Amphibia. And so, like, of course, it's kind of easy for Anne's mom to kind of default back into, you know, maybe like her old parenting mode where she's like, oh, no, Anne, like, you're just the same, like, you haven't changed. And I felt really bad for Anne here because, like I said, you know, Anne was doing all this stuff at the beginning of the episode, and now feeling
Did the coaster mean nothing to you, Mom?
Did the coaster mean nothing? Exactly. And, you know, Anne has this moment here where Anne's mom is like, when are you going to stop getting into trouble? And Anne's like, I don't know, right? And I really love this moment too, because, like, again, like, this show has kind of a running theme of like empathy and understanding where like the other people are coming from, and like understanding that, like, even though people are taking actions that like you don't agree with, there's usually always like a pretty good reason for it, and like they have their own motivations for like doing these things, and maybe it's not always like the best course of action, but like there's reasons for these things, right? Like empathy and understanding where the other person is coming from in these conflicts is a really big theme throughout the entire show. And
I'm going to disagree with you there, because when that shift manager came up to Hot Pop when Hot Pop was investigating Sal's source, he killed him immediately and without remorse. No empathy involved at all.
Well, at least when it comes to family, there's empathy.
He boiled that man to death in sauce.
When it comes to figuring out the secrets of the sauce, there's no empathy.
There's no empathy. That is the most morally black and white situation you can have. If anyone ever tries to stop you trying to uncover the mystery of Sal's source, you're not just morally allowed, you're morally obligated to kill them.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, but you know,
are you gonna tell me I'm wrong?
I'm ignoring you. But you know, like, I really love that, like, this show is really good at kind of talking about that empathy and showing that empathy. And you know, we see Anne having empathy, like, for her parents, you know, as we are in these first few episodes of season 3, right? She's like, I finally appreciate how much y'all have done for me. And oh gosh, where am I going with this? You threw me all off with that with your joke.
I'm not even sorry.
But you know, like, Anne has had to meet her parents halfway in a lot of ways in these first few episodes of season 3, and now I really appreciate that now it's Anne's mom's turn to kind of meet Anne halfway. And you know, like we kind of said, Anne's dad is kind of the more laid back one, and he's like, maybe we should hear her out. But Anne's mom is unfortunately kind of back to thinking the worst of it, right? Like, you were back to the way you were when you were skipping classes. And yeah, I felt really bad for Anne here, but she is trying to explain that, like, things are complicated, right? And trying to explain like where she is coming from. And I do like that this is a conversation that they have here, right? Like, Anne, again, really saying that, like, she doesn't know when she's going to be that perfect daughter that her mom wants her to be. And like, she's going to keep doing these things in the name of like protecting the people that she cares about, right? And like, even though she's lying and being disobedient or whatever, like, to her, this is the right thing to do, right? And I think, like, by the end of the episode, Anne's mom can see that this is the right thing to do. And I really love that we are getting this confrontation and this explanation from Anne to her mom here. It really means a lot to me that, like, the empathy is not just one way, right? It, like, that's the brilliant thing about the show, is it always goes both ways. It's not just that Anne has to understand where her parents are coming from and understand like, oh yeah, her parents had to deal with her being missing and all this other stuff too, right? But Anne's parents now have to understand where Anne is coming from and kind of meet her where she is. And I really like that this show always does kind of go both ways with their characters. And I love this moment for Anne's mom.
You have said basically everything that can be said about that, and all I can do is agree.
Oh, yeah. And, says what she's learned, and I appreciate how much you've done for me. Now I'm asking for your help, right? And while I understand like this moment of hesitancy from Anne's mom, like this is all just kind of a lot, right? Unfortunately, in this moment, they don't really have too much of a choice because there is a killer robot coming after them.
That's true. There is a killer robot coming after them, and that's bad news for Gamer.
Totally, totally. I just want to say Anne was really patient with her mom here. Like, yeah, Anne is in the wrong because she withheld the truth, but we're literally being chased by a murderous robot. Anne's mom can't wait to express her disappointment. Yeah, totally, totally, Morgan. Yeah, I also totally cried at like that whole scene, Zoe. I was absolutely because like I said, that hit really close to home for me. Like I totally get where Anne is coming from about this feeling of my work is being not noticed and like the expectations for me are too high and like I'm never gonna live up to those expectations, right? And like that frustration, like I really felt that and I absolutely cried during that whole scene. But of course, like I said, we've got Chekhov's boon choice, right? That have been established early in the episode, and Anne comes up with a plan and asks her mom, "You think you could put your artistic skills to use, right?" Uh, and we've got the countdown going down, right? Cloakbot is absolutely desperate to take out Anne at this point. He's got like 10 minutes on the clock and ends up getting distracted, right, by the copies. And we get this really funny moment between Polly and Mrs. Boonchoy where Polly's like, wow, you work fast. Or she's like, wow, mama, you work fast, right? And I love the delivery of this line that Mrs. Boonchoy says too. She's like, "It's all about rhythm, baby." Like, I love the way she says it. Like, it reminded me that like, oh yeah, this is Matt Braley's mom playing this role here, and like the way that like sometimes like immigrant parents like put certain inflections on things or like the way they say certain phrases, like it's like my parents do that too. And so like getting this line from Mrs. Boonchoy where she's like, "It's all about rhythm, baby," like her little accent is just so cute. I love it. uh yeah, Zoe, it's Matt Braley's mom who plays Mrs. Boonchoy, which makes it really special.
And she does a fantastic job.
She's phenomenal. She's so fun. She's really great at voice acting. I mean, like obviously it's kind of a perfect role for her being like a mom, but yeah, she really does a great job. It's all about rhythm, baby.
I don't like. It makes me wonder if she's ever done any. Does anybody know if she's ever done any voice acting before?
I don't think she has. This is probably her first thing. Cause like I think for her it's more like, oh, I just want to be involved in my son's project.
It kind of makes kind of like with Catherine Scorsese, who always like she loved being in Martin Scorsese's movies, but she would also insist on doing the catering, which I just think is adorable.
That is cute. That's adorable.
But it kind of makes me wonder like what the process is, because he's talked about like giving her certain stage directions, but I wonder if like he'll like line read with her,
maybe,
so that she's kind of like talking to him specifically, and he can like coax specific kind of reactions out of her that are a little closer to her experience raising him. Be curious to know that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah, I want to acknowledge Hyrule's comment here. I was thinking this is really the only time I've seen a character who isn't a native English speaker have a noticeable accent and it not come up as racist. Yeah, I tweeted about this like a long time ago, like back when Owl House was coming out, when we were watching the new episodes. I tweeted about how like just how cool it was that we're getting like these parents that have these like foreign accents, like Camilla in Owl House having having like a Dominican accent, and yeah, having Anne's parents here have their Thai accents. Like it's just a little thing. It's like such a small thing, but it means so much to me because as a kid of immigrant parents, like my parents have accents when they talk, and I'd never seen that in cartoons really represented. So like it's really refreshing and really nice to see, and yeah, it just makes me feel really seen as well, and it means a lot to me personally.
And I love how angry it makes conservatives.
Yes, that too. That too.
Their
Um
their tears are delicious.
yeah, Zoe, I totally agree. She does a phenomenal job. She's really, really good. They are absolutely brutal when it comes to beating up the robot, right? Well, not the planters and Mr. Boonchoy, right? They kind of try their best and they kind of whack it around a little bit, and they get flung away as the robot spins. Um, but of course, that does not stop them from totally kicking this robot's ass. This thing is ready to take out Anne, and I think it does like another little snicker here, which again, I love the guy. I love the thing. I love when this guy laughs. It's very fun.
I feel sorry for this poor
Oh,
bastard.
I feel so bad for him. Yeah, especially feeling the freaking wrath of Mrs. Boonchoy, right? She is brutal. She does not hold back. She's got this giant sledgehammer and she absolutely takes it to task. She is slamming this guy up. And this is actually like quite brutal, especially this moment where Anne takes this road sign and absolutely just impales the cloak bot. Like this is quite violent, and what we learned in the last episode about these guys having souls, it got me questioning, does this guy feel pain too? Like, oh man, I feel so bad for him.
God, I hope he doesn't feel pain.
But I agree though with Zoe and Morgan that this was pretty badass. Like, her just absolutely destroying both of them, destroying this guy. And we get this particularly like gruesome shot, right? Like this really only happens in when we don't want to see, like, when the actual action is too gruesome, we see the shadows, right? And so like this just like really elevates it to like how gruesome this moment actually is with Anne and the shadows, right? Like her absolutely destroying this guy's arm and continuing to beat him up.
It just makes me sad. I wish they would have like spared some of that empathy for him.
I know, right? But
like, tried to disarm the bomb or something.
I know. No,
Polly
no.
Polly with all her robotic skills.
There was no way, unfortunately. And this was another really funny moment here too, right? Where Hop Hop turns to Mr. Boonchoy and is like, "Were you surprised by that display of ferocity, Mr. Boonchoy?" And there's like a 10-minute pause right before Mr. Boonchoy just like calmly is like, "No." Oh my god, this cracked me up because I was like, damn, this is the face of a man who has made some mistakes and has personally felt the wrath of this woman before.
Oh god, does she beat him?
Oh no. He did scream in pain when Hop Hop chopped his arm off in the museum. No, Gem Princess, why would you say that? Oh, so tragic, so tragic. I'm not reading that out loud.
What is it?
You can read the chat. There are 10 seconds left. 10 seconds left on this countdown here, right? And we get this moment where, Hop Hop's like, all that, and we're still doomed, right? But of course, Anne, not on my watch, right? And she actually kind of goes full blue superpower mode, right? In the first episode with when they were in the grocery store, right? And only her eyes kind of glowed and like her fist glowed, and then when she punched the cloak bot, it like went flying out of the grocery store. So I think like it really goes to show how much power she really has, and like when she's kind of completely in her full blue mode, when she's like completely on fire, when she's in her super Saiyan mode, right?
Yo, got him.
She is like extremely powerful, and she punts this guy and he freaking flies into orbit. Like this is insane. Like She's
Did you just
got
say she punts? Did you just say she punts him?
she punts him into orbit. Is that wrong?
That is no, that is an English saying that you definitely got from me, and that makes me very happy.
Your Englishness is rubbing off on me. Could have just ran instead of Anne going calamity mode. I don't know, Morgan. This was a pretty big explosion. I think it would have taken out a pretty big chunk of that junkyard if Anne didn't kick this guy. Actually kind of messed up that they spent the last episode establishing robots have souls. Yeah. Oh my God. Exactly. Yeah. Bor, I'm so glad that you said this because it is messed up. It is messed up, right? It really goes to show how freaking twisted Andreas is to threaten this guy like this with only an hour timer. And yeah, like I it's wild. It's absolutely freaking crazy. Like, man, I feel really bad for this robot. And like, you guys heard me every week talking about how much I love him and how much I enjoy him. I'm really sad that like we're not going to get to see him anymore.
You need to play this clip of him floating through space in slow motion while playing Tears in Rain.
Yes. Oh my God. No. I would cry. I would actually cry.
All those moments will be lost.
Yeah, they totally did it to make Andreas look more twisted. I think that's right, Zoe. Oh, this poor robot, right? He totally does not deserve this fate, but he creates this huge explosion right in the sky, and I guess it's bye Cloakbot. So sad.
But like this if you cry every time.
I cry every time. And of course is completely exhausted using her powers, and she ends up passing out, but not before her parents, kind of are stunned, right? They're like, "Oh my God, what is that?" And has a line where she says, like, "I have so much to tell you guys," right? And yeah, it's nice to know that kind of moving forward, everything's going to be kind of out in the open. The Boon Choys are going to be kind of fully on our team now and like helping us out with like, the bigger conflicts that are going on in the story. This is also a really sweet moment. Anne is like sleeping on her mom's shoulder, and it's like really heartwarming. And the planters are, trying to defend Anne, and Anne's mom is like, I get it, right? Like at this point, I really love that Anne's mom does eventually come to this place where she is understanding and she is totally on Anne's side now at this point, right? And like gets where she was coming from. She was trying to protect the planters. And now like she's on our side, right? Whatever you guys need to do, we'll do it together. So it's really sweet. And again, I gotta feel bad for Mr. Boonchoy here. They have a really sweet moment where they group hug in the back of the car, and he's like, the driver always gets left out of the group hugs. Not me crying again. I know this whole thing made me cry too, Zoe.
I don't cry. I don't have tears.
That is not true.
That is definitely not true. I cry. I will cry at anything at any given opportunity. I didn't cry at this though. This didn't quite tweak those specific cry buttons in my brain.
Yeah, but this was really sweet. I continue to feel bad for Mr. Boonchoy. Oh, can you guys just imagine? I'm there in the group hug. Really, really sweet. And then, of course, this is the big scene, right, that we get at the end of this episode, the big cliffhanger that we get here. FBI office, undisclosed location. I really love the detail on this building as well. This building says Conspicuous Inc. Totally normal name for a building. Am I right?
Yeah.
Nothing suspicious about that at all at Conspicuous Inc.
It reminds me of the name of the office in the company in Inside Job, which I've immediately forgotten what it's called.
Oh yeah, that's another one I have to watch. I've heard good things about it.
It's pretty good. But it is ugly.
Yeah. So we're in the FBI office, right? And we actually see these two dudes in these FBI jackets, right? This guy's got a camera. They've got some pegboards and all this stuff around, and they're looking at some footage. Feel like it's a reference to Cognito Inc. What is?
Yeah, that's the one. That's what it's called in Inside Job.
Oh, an Inside Job. Okay.
Because it's like it's incognito, and they've just swapped it. So it's Cognito Inc.
Okay. That's funny. I doubt it's a direct reference, or maybe it is a direct reference. I don't know. Alex Hirsch.
Matt Brawley and Alex Hirsch, and
they're friends.
They're all like little friends.
Yeah, that's true. So it could be a reference. Totally. The Mr. RuPaul foreshadowing. Froggy Bureau of Investigation. I like that. That's funny.
That's definitely what it stands for, and I will die on that hill.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the guys are reviewing this footage, right? And they zoom in on the planters in the car. So we've got some kind of evidence here to imply that maybe the FBI agents, or maybe there are some, you know, players on Earth who do know a little bit more about Amphibia, who know
Mm.
um kind of like maybe some past clues or history that had to do with Amphibia, right? Because we do know that there have been a couple instances in the past of Amphibia and Earth kind of like crossing paths. Like we know that the pink frog came to Earth, right? We saw the vase with the Vikings, so we know that the pink frog had to have come to Earth at some point. Um, we know that the music box, right, was on Earth, so there must have been some way that it got to Earth from Amphibia. And then what was the other one? There was one more kind of hint. Oh, there was something like a skip man or something that Anne found in Amphibia
Yes,
at one
yeah,
point.
the in the Gravity Falls.
Oh yeah, the museum, the
Yeah,
that
just
Mr. Pons, or right? Yeah, there was a skip man in there, right? That Anne ended up finding. So that must have also been a time where like maybe some human came to Amphibia or something along
mm,
those lines, right? So there have been hints that we've gotten of
more intercommunication or like
right.
kind of travel between the two realms.
Right. Yeah. And so there does stand to reason that the FBI, or aka the Froggy Bureau of Investigation, has some sort of hints or has some knowledge maybe of like Amphibia, and they end on this line, right, where he says like time to call Mr. X, and we've seen in
If
the
they
trailers. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
if they don't make a single reference to the X-Files, I'm gonna be so disappointed.
Oh, they absolutely should. That'd be amazing. Yeah, this is so prime for that kind of reference too. Um, Yeah, so we've seen in the intro, we've seen in the trailer, there does seem to be this character that looks very similar to RuPaul, that looks to be an FBI, looks like he's an FBI agent of some kind, or some sort of like, government agent, Men in Black kind of deal. And I feel like this is kind of, yeah, what someone said in the chat, the foreshadowing that this character is going to be coming soon, right? We're getting this time to call Mr. X. And I do have a feeling that that's going to be the RuPaul character. Um, and I'm very curious as to what kind of role that they're going to play, because, I really like what you said, Tom, about like this FBI entity being kind of like a recurring antagonist that, maybe we'll see, go after the planters for a little while. But I would genuinely love to see them kind of turn around and, join our side. Maybe not like join Anne and the planters, but maybe in some way aid them, whether it's like intentionally or non intentionally. And, I would love, in particular, I would really love for the FBI to eventually help out and be the cause of Andreas's downfall. Because I was watching a video last night of someone talking about this episode, and they had a really good theory that I thought made a lot of sense. Of like thematically and story wise, it would actually be quite satisfying to know that the choices that Andreas made in this episode could be what leads to his eventual downfall, right? Because we saw Andreas be particularly messed up and twisted and explode our lovable cloak bot, right? And it would be really kind of satisfying to see that choice that he made to threaten and kill the cloakbot would kind of eventually like domino its way to Andreas's own downfall, right? Like I really kind of like that idea. And I think one way that could work is like, oh, the cloakbot now finally got the attention of the FBI agents, and somehow the FBI agents are going to help in like his downfall, right? So that's kind of what I was thinking, and I really liked that. And Tom, earlier you said like it would be cool to see the
Lilo
the
and
FBI
Stitch,
agents kind of turn around at some point, right?
because I love Lilo and Stitch. Okay,
I love Lilo and Stitch too. It's so underrated, honestly.
anything that reminds me of Lilo and Stitch is welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be him because I'm Bob Hoskins. They're bringing in the
How dare you use Bob Hoskins' name in vain like that? That is despicable.
they're bringing in that terrifyingly strong Resident Evil boss. I wonder if Mr. X will be antagonistic and then reluctantly work with Anne to investigate this invasion. Yeah, Morgan, that would be another interesting way that this could go for sure. Lilo and Stitch is amazing. The TV show is so underrated, honestly.
I love the TV show.
It
I
was
love
so
Lilo and
fun.
Stitch.
It was so fun. It was really fun. Lilo and Stitch is great. Fantastic movie. I've seen that one. So yeah, we get this foreshadowing right to Mr. X showing up. So yeah, I have a feeling that Mr. X knows something about Amphibia or has some theories about Amphibia and has some prior knowledge, because I feel like this zoom in right on the planters and them being like, oh, this is happening, we need to contact Mr. X. Like, I feel like that's really specific. All right, well, that's the end of the episode. We're left off on this huge cliffhanger, and hopefully we'll see it kind of followed up towards the next episode. Hopefully we'll get this plot thread follow up soon. There is something I want to address before we wrap up about Amphibia and about the show that's like not necessarily specific to this episode. So I wanted to check with you, Tom, in case you had anything else to say about this episode before I go on my kind of rant.
No, go on your rant.
I wanted to kind of rant a little bit, and I hope that you guys will hear me out, and I hope that this won't get taken the wrong way. Amphibia live action, yeah, with the hyper realistic frogs, that would be amazing though, Zoe. I would love to see it.
Would it?
Anyway, let me do my rant. Let me go on my rant. So I've been seeing some fans of the show a little unhappy with some of the stuff that's been going on, and I kind of wanted to just talk about that a little bit. And in particular, I see a lot of folks who are frustrated with the fact that the plot line with Marcy at the end of True Colors has not been followed up on yet. Obviously a really big thing happened at the end of True Colors, and it was quite dramatic. It was quite traumatizing. It was quite upsetting in a lot of ways. And so I understand that people want to get some follow-up to Marcy and Sasha, also Sasha, right? Like they want, like a lot of people are asking, like, where are their parents? Like, how come they haven't, like, talked to Sasha and Marcy's parents yet? Or like, how come we haven't like followed up on that plot point? How come like Anne hasn't really been talking about it? And, I feel like a lot of folks are talking about how like that's poor writing on the show's part. And I kind of want to disagree with that a little bit. And I kind of want to disagree with the folks who are talking about how Anne and Marcy and Sasha's friendship is kind of like a core driving factor of the show, because I agree that it's very important, and I agree that it is kind of like the emotional tether that like kind of drives the story along. But I would argue that like the emotional core of the show is more about Anne and her relationship with the planters, and really more about Anne in particular.
I mean, whenever not to cut you off, I'm just agreeing.
Sure.
Like whenever the kind of the theme of her friends are kind of brought into it, it's typically supplementary to the found family aspect of it.
Right, exactly.
Particularly where Sasha is concerned, and how Sasha behaves, and yeah.
And I just want to also talk a little bit and remind some folks that like this is a cartoon, and in particular it's a pretty episodic cartoon. Like definitely in season 2 and 3 we get a lot more of the overarching plot, and there's like a lot of plot stuff that happens in every episode, but like at the end of the day, this is still an episodic cartoon. Every episode has to kind of contain its own story, and also we're dealing with 11-minute episodes for the most part, so like only kind of so much can happen in each episode. And in my opinion, the plot points with Marcy and Sasha, while they are important, are not the most pressing for the plot right now, right? Because in these first 5 episodes, what was really important for us to establish was the planters getting accustomed to Earth, Anne's parents and the effect that Anne being missing has had on them, establishing these like new relationship dynamics between Anne, the planters, and Anne's parents. These have been kind of the important plot points that we've needed to hit in these first 5 episodes. And like, I understand the frustration with not getting to Marcy. I understand that we really love and care about Marcy and Sasha, and we wanted to follow up on those plot points. But in terms of like storytelling for a cartoon, and for this kind of cartoon, it just, to me, doesn't make sense to bring up that specific plot point right now because there's all these other things going on. You know what I mean?
I mean, first of all, we already talked about the practicalities of why they wouldn't talk to the other parents, for obvious reasons concerning secrecy, and the planters. In terms of like pacing and not like rushing to those things, those feel like end game things to me. They don't feel like the kind of things you're going to be touching this early in the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we dropped him with Sasha, and I think that we're probably going to see some more in a few episodes' time, or over the course of the next few episodes. We're probably going to see more from Sasha. I don't think they're going to resolve that Marcy bullet just yet. I don't understand why people are complaining about that.
Yeah.
That's a bizarre thing to complain about because that to me feels endgame rather than stuff to deal with right now, and we're still kind of enjoying things being kind of fun and irreverent for the time being before we enter
totally.
the point of no return.
And like we as an audience know what happens to Marcy. Like we did get those teasers and those trailers, and like we got some hints as to what's going to happen to Marcy, and that is a big plot point. That is like a huge thing that's happening within the scope of the show, right? So like I understand that the show is not ready to get there yet. There's steps that we need to take to get there. And if Amphibia was like a novel or something like that, and maybe not like an episodic cartoon, then I could understand the argument of like, how come Anne hasn't addressed this yet? Like maybe she's at least thinking about it, right? Like maybe if this was like a first person novel from Anne's point of view, we would be getting some of her like inner monologue thinking about Marcy and Sasha. But this is an episodic cartoon, right? And this is a plot that needs to be set up in a specific order in order for it to be like satisfying and to like make sense within like the like emotional kind of arc that we as an audience are going on with this story, right? So like I hear people, I hear the frustrations. I know we love Marcy, I know we love Sasha, I know we want to get to them, I know we want answers, but like just be a little patient. Like we're only 5 episodes in, and like we will get to those things. So like I get why people are frustrated, but I just wanted to kind of address that and talk about that a little bit because it kind of bothered me a little bit as I was reading some of those criticisms and hearing some people complain about that, because I get where they're coming from, but I think that we've got a little bit more kind of important things to establish first in order for us to get there.
It feels, I didn't even know people were complaining. It feels like a bizarre thing to complain about.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, we don't really know too much about Marcy and Sasha's parents. Like Zoe's saying in the chat, we don't really know too much about what their relationship was like. We don't really know too much also about what Anne's parents with Marcy and Sasha's parents, like what their relationship was like too, right? Because like my parents knew my friend's parents, but they didn't like necessarily go out of their way to talk to them all the time, or they were friendly, of course, but like my parents weren't necessarily super close with my friends' parents, so I can kind of understand that too.
I feel like CinemaSins has changed the way people look at media for the worse.
Yeah, I hear that.
Because like you can nitpick this stuff all damn day, but like it doesn't change the fact that these are stories and we suspend our disbelief while watching them. Like
exactly.
there is an intricate, and it's worth reading up on this because it's a fascinating phenomenon, but there is an intricate sort of interplay between media and audience where we know to some degree we are conscious of the fact that what we're watching isn't real. Like we know that, right? And we approach certain things with a certain amount of realism, particularly the things that have like an emotional impact on us and the things that reflect upon our own reality in particular ways.
Yeah.
But there are also other aspects of it that aren't meant to be approached with realism, and that's what they call internal logic. And in the end, like for example, I mean, just because Buffy is fresh on my mind, if you're watching Buffy and you're watching that first episode and your first thought is, oh, the police would have shut down the school when they found a dead body. You're
Yeah.
watching it wrong.
Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
this isn't the fucking Sopranos. This is Buffy the goddamn Vampire Slayer.
Yeah,
And that is like clearly in the rhythm of how that show is written, that's not part of the internal logic of the show. And these
exactly.
questions that people are asking aren't part of the internal logic of this episodic kids cartoon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. And you put it really well. So, anyone out there who might be like, frustrated at the lack of Marcy and Sasha and kind of wanting to follow up on those plot points, all I got to say to them is like, just remember like what show we're watching and like be a little patient,
Be patient.
Be
Words to live
patient.
by.
I just remember too that there was one line that we glazed over that was hinted in this episode that we kind of skipped over, that might be important. But while Andreas is instructing the cloak bot, and he has this line where he talks about how the cloak bot hasn't killed Anne yet, and he has a line where he says ohms have mercy. We totally skipped over that, and I want to go back to that for a second. So we got this hint with the ohms in the last episode, right? The mother of ohms is something that something that we got a hint towards, but our characters didn't really know what it meant. And I mentioned this at the beginning of the first episode where it's like, oh, I kind of would have thought that they would have like Googled that, right? They would have gone on Google and searched up what an ohm was. But we did get a little bit of follow up with that plot point with Andrea saying ohms have mercy or something along those lines, right? So I think that's gonna, kind of come into play later. It seems to imply that ohms seem to be some sort of deity of some kind. We saw them all over the temples. There's a lot of ohm imagery with the calamity box and what's going on there. So they do seem to be some sort of like mythical godlike creature of some kind, and I just wanted to draw some attention to that because I thought that was an important little hint that we got in this episode.
Bob Hoskins.
This is clearly Bob Hoskins.
Who else could it possibly be?
Yeah, what Morgan says, yeah, it's a play on Lord have mercy, so it seems to be some sort of a god or deity. Yeah. Yeah, so I think that'll be an interesting thing to follow up on as well. I'm curious to know if that is gonna to play a major role as we continue on.
Indeed.
But that's really all I have to say. I think I ranted on long enough. Was there anything else in this episode, Tom, that you think we missed that we should touch on?
No, nothing from me specifically.
Yeah, so before we wrap up, I did a quick Google search. I did a quick Google search, and I found the episode titles for next week. So that we do have 4 more episodes planned for November, it looks like. So we're going to be continuing our discussion streams throughout November as well, it looks like. So that'll be fun. But our episodes for next week are called Mr. X and Sprig's Birthday. So we are going to be following up on this Mr. X plot point next episode, which is exciting. Very curious if it is actually RuPaul playing that character, and if he's going to be playing a major role in the plot. And then Sprig's Birthday should be fun. I'm really excited for that one as well. That one sounds like a fun Sprig episode.
Indeed.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for now. Thank you, Tom, for hanging out with us for almost 3 hours today. I always really enjoy chatting with you and hanging out with you, and I love you, buddy.
I love you too. And I sent you more puppos.
Oh yes, more puppos. And I also love all of you in the chat. I really I've been a little emotional lately, and I just really want to show my gratitude, and I just really appreciate all of you. I was chatting with someone recently and kind of talking to them about how I feel like I really took for granted back like in high school and college, right? Just kind of like having this group of friends that you saw all the time and like, you were physically with, and you like got to see them all the time, and just like kind of having that little like unit of people that are like really special to you. And I was talking with this person about that, and also talking about, doing these Twitch streams every week and coming here and chatting about like one of my favorite shows with all of you guys every week. And the fact that like so many of you come every week to come and like chat about this show with us, like it's really remarkable, and it really means a lot to me. And it reminds me, you know, of those times where I hung out with my friends and got to talk about TV shows and just hang out and have a good time for a little bit of time every week. And so this is like really special to me, especially with having Tom here too. Tom has absolutely been a blessing in my life, and I feel really grateful to be your friend. And I'm really grateful for everyone who hangs out in the chat. Y'all are just so sweet and wonderful and thoughtful and funny. And I love talking about this show with you all. I really, really do. And I'm really excited to continue on for the rest of season 3. I'm sorry that got really sappy and really, really maybe saccharine, but I just really wanted to show my appreciation for all of y'all. You really mean a lot to me.
I did, but yep. I'm not very good at this.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Not very good at the all emotion box.
Oh, it's okay. I just know I appreciate you. Also, Zoe apparently did look up the cast for the next episode, and I was right. It is RuPaul. So yeah, I wasn't joking. I was dead serious. So that'll be fun to see. It'll be exciting to see that for sure. All right, I'm gonna stop rambling on, because otherwise I'll keep going on and I'll start crying, and that won't be fun for anyone. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your weekend. Hope you all have a lovely Halloween. Next week we will be back talking about Mr. X and Sprig's birthday, same time, same bat channel.
Yeah.
Tell me in Discord what your favorite candy is, and we'll continue this discussion there. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today and talking about your favorite candy and talking about Amphibia. Let's go ahead and wrap this up here. See you all next week. Stay safe. Happy Halloween. Wear a mask. Get vaccinated. All that good stuff. My usual spiel. And yeah, love you all so much. Really appreciate you, and you all are wonderful. And take care. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Bye.